He's really been good. He doesn't even look like the same guy. I mean, it's funny when you see a team picture last year and you see him now. But he was 17. Now he's 18. You know, when you have young guys, it's like the guys this summer. Sasha's body's not the same as it was 2.5 months ago. Neither is De'Aaron, neither is Malik. You got guys that they're so young that it's like putting water on a flower, and they just start to blossom.
Now, what do you want like about moving Joel into a full-time assistant role?
Well, the initial part of that, the question was about Joel, was that I wanted to give John some time. His father had passed away, and you know, one of the things I found out was we were really able to do stuff with younger guys that was going to be important to us. And then the other side of it is, the more I thought about it, is, you know, I need John around me more anyway. You know, and you won't believe this, as I get older, I start forgetting things. And for all of you here, if I ever tell the same story twice, just laugh and roll with it, because when you get older, you start doing that kind of stuff. Like, we've never heard that before. Just make me feel good. That's the first time I've ever heard that story. So having John with me, and then putting Joel in a position to really attack and establish us with some young kids, at least have our presence known with young kids, I thought was important.
John, since I've never heard you talk much about point guards, would you just talk a little bit about how De'Aaron has maybe changed just since he got here until now?
No, you know, the great thing about the majority of the kids that we bring here, and as you know, you guys know the numbers, you know, 75% of the kids we bring here that we recruited in scholarship have been drafted. 75%. Of that 75%, 75% of them that go to the NBA go to second contracts. So it's a big deal. So most of those kids, yeah, they have talent, but whether it's Devin or Carl, you know how they were at the beginning of the year. When someone looks at you guys and say, they were pros before, they were stable, you go, no, I watched them all year and they got way better. Well, what happens, like a guy like De'Aaron Fox, they're comfortable in their own skin. They want to be the best version of themselves. We never compare players. There's not one player that I'm going to say you're going to be like. No, I want you to be your best. I was in Indiana about 2 weeks ago, and her mother says to me, cannot wait to be at practice. Why? I want to see how you're doing this. Well, what do you mean? Trey Lyles from Indiana averaged 7 points and 4 rebounds, was a lottery pick, and going to be an all-star. Devin Booker came off the bench. Lottery pick. I got to see, what are you doing? I said, I'm telling you, ma'am, it's simple. How do we make each player be the best version of themselves? How do we do that? They have to have a level of talent or they wouldn't be here. But they also have to be comfortable in their skin. That we're doing this together. And numbers don't matter. You know what? You mind me saying? I probably never told you this. Anthony Davis took the 4th most shots, was the #1 pick. Michael took the 5th most shots. Have I ever told you this?
Never, ever.
Never. And he was the #2 pick. And Willie Colley took the 7th most shots on our team, and he was the 6th pick. Now, John Wall took the most, and Brandon Knight took the most. It doesn't matter. You could be the 7th scorer or the 1st scorer, and just be your best version. And then, we got to win. And if we win, it helps you all. So you guys got to play to win the championship, go into every game with an idea of what you're trying to do. But you got to win. And understand that means you become a great teammate, that we're all in this together. You don't have pressure on yourself to have to go nuts. Just be your best version. And guess what? 75% of the time, the guys that come here, they've been drafted. And of that group, 75% have gotten to second contracts. And you know we have 17 guys in the league right now that aren't eligible for their second contract yet. So if that's 75% and it holds, which it probably will, maybe higher, we're probably in 3 years, we've had in the NBA, current NBA, you have over $2 billion in contracts, $2 billion, not shoe contracts and and you have the kids that have graduated, and you got, who won the Community Assist Award? Who won the Community Assist Award in the NBA? John Wall won that thing. Who was the runner-up? Oh, Anthony Davis. It's not just basketball here, it's everything. And that's why you're in Kentucky, you're trying to do it all.
Does this year's team remind you of any other team you've had since you've been here?
No, but the interesting thing is, what are the combinations going to be? My guess would be 3 guards, you know, a little different than the 3 guards we played last year, but different, but 3 guards. But at times, we may go big with 6'10", 6'10", 6'10", and a couple guards who are 6'4". So, you know, there are certain players, if I put in, will probably play some zone. My son.
Alan, I know, I don't mean specifics in terms of, you talk about, I know what lines, but in general, in a sense, how will this team play?
If you're 10,000 feet looking down, I would say we're going to be a mauling, helping, rotating, shot-blocking team. Probably picks the ball up the court because we can. On offense, a team that tries to score within 3 seconds, and if not, is doing something to attack the rim or throw it to the post. If that's not there, probably some sort of pick and roll. Or give it to somebody who can jump this high and get a jump shot off. If you don't get something easy. So at 10,000 feet, I would say that's what it'll look like. Now, I'm going to be disappointed if in February this isn't the best defensive team. But right now, we don't know terminology, we don't help each other, we don't understand what it means to even pick and roll defense, post defense. What if they cross screen? We haven't done it yet. What about a UCLA cut? We haven't done it yet. How about your out of bounds play? We don't have them in yet. What about your side out of bounds? What if you need a 3-lane? We don't have that. What if you, what's the jump ball? I hope they all get around that circle. I mean, we just don't, when you start with, like we do young, you got to let them go and figure out who they all are. And then we go from there.
John, on the televised practice Sunday, Fran Fraschilla said that out perimeter shooting is a question with the team. How do you assess that and each individual shooter out there?
Well, I wouldn't go specifically shooter by shooter, but that could be. May not be. We may end up being the best shooting team I've had. It's too early. I mean, the combine was a huge success for these players because every player helped themselves. Every single guy that was there helped themselves. They now can put all that stuff behind them and understand you've been evaluated, now are you going to get better? And then are you going to be a great teammate that they've won on your team? Are you going to be a winning player? If you're a winning player and you're a great teammate, it's a wrap. You're a lock. But you got to do all that. And we're just, you know, and it, you know, there have been teams that they told my team, this team wouldn't shoot the ball. Well, we did. We did. We shot the ball fine. If you remember the beginning of last year, Tyler Eulis didn't shoot the ball well. We had games where we're like, holy cow, I hope he can make some shots. And by the end, he and Jamal ended up giving us, you know, 2 guys that could shoot 40% from the 3. You know, Derek Willis as a stretch, Wenyon as a stretch or a 3. You know, they may not be consistent right now, but it's only physically, you know, being consistent.
How different are Dominique and Derek now from when they got on campus a couple of years ago?
Well, first of all, they're good kids. And Dom, can you imagine who they played against for 4 years in practice? How much better they got, how much more confident they are. How about all of us when you put them in a game, you don't have any anxiety, none of you do, I don't, the fans don't. They want them to play well. They're Kentucky kids, so they have their own following. And I'm proud of both of them. I mean, you know, right now, I talked to you about Derek coming in early and the last one to leave the gym and gets extra shots up and knows this is his time. Dom's going every day to get better, and you know, there are times where he's doing something and the guy will score anyway, and he looks at me like, oh, you know, and then he'll go score the guy, and he's even getting to where he talks a little bit, you know, which is not his nature, but he does, and it's good stuff.
John, during the football media days, Coach Stoops was asked if he still had the passion. You look like you've been doing this a little bit longer than he has. You still look pretty passionate to me. So, specifically, what about this team keeps you so passionate?
Well, first of all, I'm blessed to have this job. What this job does is every morning you wake up to put your feet in your car. You sit out of that chair and say, my team has a chance to win the national title. That's every year. You know you do. The second part of this job that keeps you going and makes you excited is, at no other time in the history of our sport has a program done what we're doing for players. We can all say what you want. 28 kids, 4 a year for 7 years have been drafted. 2 others are in the league that weren't drafted. You're talking almost 80% of the kids. You're talking rookie of the years, you're talking all-stars, you're talking kids that are giving back to the community, that are role models, that are doing things, that are making us proud, that come back to us to help us to be involved, or they need help. Can you work me out in the gym? The stuff that's happened, if we can keep this going, it keeps me young. Because nothing excites me more than seeing young people get better, seeing young people grow up. Like Isaac was in my office yesterday, and I just smiled. I said, "You're not even the same kid." He said, "I know, Coach." He said, "I don't feel like the same guy." And there's nothing that keeps you young. And then being able to help these kids. Have I ever told you the story about DeMarcus Cousins' mom? Say no, Coach.
No,
You've never
never.
said it before.
Never.
So DeMarcus's mom calls me in tears after he had been drafted by the Sacramento Kings. Tears. So I think something's wrong. Is everything okay, Miss Coach? What happened? Is there something I can do? What, Coach? No, these are tears of joy. What? I just moved into my new house. I'm standing in the living room, Coach. It's unbelievable. I got a rug on the floor. I got furniture. I'm looking out the window and I see the 9th green. The 9th green? You're on a golf course? Yeah, Coach. Do you golf? No, I don't. I said, well, why would you move on a golf? Because I can. Generational poverty, most of us we don't know what that is. We don't know what that means. But these kids, and not all of them, but a lot of them, this is the opportunity for their family. And I don't take it lightly. People will say to you, he doesn't care about winning. He doesn't care about national titles. All he wants to do is get players drafted. If you want to pin that on me, I'll say I'll take it. But we all know it's not true because we've won more games than any team in the country in the last 7 years. We've been to more Final Fours than any team in the country. We won a national title. Probably should have won 3 or 4. But we won 1 national title. And you know what? In our league, we've done what we've done every year. I'm happy with what's happening on the basketball court, but I'm more happy about what's happening for these kids. If my team won a national title and no one got drafted, I'd be disappointed. Oh, that'll just rifle through our state. I would be disappointed.
John, this is your 8th go around trying to build a young team from scratch. Have you changed from how you used to do it to now through the years?
What I'd like you all to do is, you have a picture of me at the opening press conference. I want you to put that in your newspaper or on your website or whatever, and what I look like today. So this thing I do is it's in dog years. You're like 7 years for one, so I'm buckling down on Coach Rupp right now. I'm 49 years going on 56. Coach tells me I've mellowed out, that I'm not as hard on the guys. Well, as the season goes on, you guys know I get a little more intense and the initial part of this is trying to figure them out. I can't just say, this is how we're doing it, do it that way, this is the only way. I don't know. Half the time I learn from them. Who coached my team last year? Tyler coached my team last year. What was great about that for me?
If you got ejected, it didn't matter.
I still got paid. But I could learn, and there were things that he and Jamal did. Like right now, Malik Monk is doing stuff that is, oh boy. Do I let him do stuff that I haven't let other guys do? Maybe. I see De'Aaron Fox. I see how Isaiah is shooting the ball. You know what I'm saying to Isaiah every practice? You shoot every open shot. If you have a three or a jump shot, you shoot it. If you don't shoot it, I'm going to get it. I know you can get to the basket. I know all that. That's not what we need, and that's not what you need. So, yeah, I do things different, and the biggest thing is, that's why every year we play different. You look and say, wow, he's doing different things. And it changes through the year because we had an early offense last year. We worked and worked and worked. Because I was looking at tape of stuff that we did a year ago. And I saw it. I said, oh my gosh, we never ran it after we did it in the beginning because it wasn't good for our team. So we do things different each year, and it's all based on who we have. Look, there may be years we have one point guard, and then the other point guard is going to have to be a combo kind of guard. How do you play? Do you put the combo in pick and rolls, or maybe he's not a pick and roll guy, he's more of a handoff guy. So that stuff we figure out as we go.
Coach, you mentioned so much about doing something at Kentucky that hasn't been done. Do you take pride, or how much pride do you take in other schools trying to do what you've done with young kids?
Well, that's the ultimate compliment when people are trying to do the things that you do. And can I just tell you, everything all of us do is stolen from somebody. And the people that are around me that give me ideas that I pass along or we try, the one thing I never do, I never give credit to anybody but myself. So I take all the ideas. So everybody thinks that all the ideas are mine. Well, let me just tell you something. Whether it's staff, whether it's what we're doing on social media, there's always a group. I don't want to be in there trying to think I have all the answers, because I don't. And I've been wrong before. I think it was 1978. It might have been 77, 78. Reality of it is, this is a group effort here. When they talk about it takes a village to coach at this place, if you think you're going to go here and do this by yourself, good luck. That's when they find coaches in a fetal position under the desk. Like, where is he? He's hiding under there. Can't do this. And you got to listen to everything. And the reason is, if we're going to stay the gold standard, we're going to stay ahead of the curve, well then, when people try to do the things we're doing, we're trying to do more. We're trying to do something different. We're coming at it a different way. That, for me, to be honest, is the fun part. Coming up with things and getting in a group. What do you guys think? There's many things that we've thrown out or tried, didn't work. Or we're like, oof, don't do that. And so a lot of it in-house stuff that I thought, let's do this, and they all laugh. Are you crazy? You know what that would do? So, but it's fun. This is different. The way we're doing this is different. The way we're trying to do it every year is different. Having players leave, 14 have graduated in 7 years. 14. 3 graduated in 3 years. 6 of the 7 years, we had a B average. All these kids have lifetime scholarships. They can come back when they want. Eric Bledsoe has started, Julius Randle has started, Dakari Johnson has started, somebody else, I'm missing a name. 4 or 5 of them already started coming back. They're taking some courses, doing some stuff. They have lifetime scholarships. They get involved in the community. You guys know the fundraising. We bring the team together and do. You know it, what we try to do. You're trying to do everything here. And making sure you don't get away from the fact they want to be the best version of themselves on the court. They want, their families want to be comfortable that they're going to be the best version of themselves off the court. And that's what we're trying to do here.
John, just to clarify, you wouldn't be totally disappointed if you won a national title and nobody got drafted, would you?
The question is, would I be totally disappointed?
Just to let you clarify that.
Now you're mincing words. You're putting words. Look, I would enjoy the fact that I had a team that won a national title, but I would be disappointed that none of the kids got drafted, because that's not how it's supposed to work. Everybody should benefit by the success of this program. Everybody, the fans, the university, the athletic department, the assistant coaches, everybody should benefit when things like that happen. And then, not the players? No, they should benefit just as well.
Winion seems like a guy that's been really motivated to play for his family and seems really driven. How driven has he been since he's been on campus?
He's been great. See, he's one of the guys that may be a little bit, that like fear is driving him. Am I good enough? What do I have to do? His mind races sometimes. It's fine. I was just with Michael Kidd down in Charlotte. It's exactly what moves him. My thing to those kind of guys, stay in the moment. You do things other people cannot do. So just stay in the moment as you improve the other areas. Mike goes back 5 games, he thinks he should be at all-star form, and it's driving him crazy. Stop it. Stop it. You've been back 5 games. What Michael Kidd does, no one else in the NBA does. Now, there's some areas that he can improve, fine. Wenyon the same. I mean, you're talking about a 6'10", inside, outside, stretch 4-3, good with the ball, but only touched where he's going to be. Sasha's the other one. Look, I knew Sasha was good. I wouldn't have him here if I didn't think he was good. But I didn't know he was this good. So now he's finally pushing through knees. He's not trying to say, I can't go. He's staying up with the pack. He's now been challenged by other really good players. See, if you don't come here to say, I want to be the only guy on the floor. You come here because you want to walk into practice and know you get pushed. I'm going to get challenged every day in this practice. And if I don't bring it, I'm getting dunked on and I'm going to look bad. So I have to come every day ready. Sasha, by that, going against these guys every day, we got guys looking at me like, Coach, like he's really good. Skilled, 6'10", blocking shots. You know, he's like feet are flying everywhere still, you know. You look at him and you're like, what? And then you watch him play, he's getting it done.
Coach Cal, this team seems to be very fun and charismatic. How does that translate on and off the court? And do you enjoy them as much off the court as you do on the court?
Well, look, all the teams you have different personalities. And you kind of want it. You know, we do a great job at talking social media, teaching social media, making sure they understand interviews and where they can be drawn and where you're trying to stay, what you're trying to say, and how you're trying to get it across. A lot of it, we're teaching 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 19-year-olds. We have to do it. But they all have their own personality. It has to be fun for you when you see somebody at a distance and you take your opinion of what they're going to be like, and then you go interview them and they're totally different. You're like, wow, I didn't expect that. The greatest thing about being in Kentucky, I said it from day one, you can get the best and the brightest. You can get unbelievable players who are smart kids, who are great kids, who have great hearts. You don't come here if you want to shoot all the balls and be the face and be the only guy. You don't come here. You come here to be the best version of yourself and play against other really good guys and be around other really good people. And then they learn from each other.
Cal, what have you seen with De'Aaron and Malik going up against two physical, experienced, mature guys like Dom and Isaiah?
Well, I'm going to tell you, Isaiah and De'Aaron have gone. It's been great. And I haven't put them all together yet. I want them to continue to compete against each other. Malik and Dom. Now, the issue Dom was figuring out is that he can jump over me. Like he can go and just jump and shoot. So Dom has figured out how to keep him in front so that when he jumps, Dom jumps. So now Dom has learned, and that's what competition does. My son was playing Michael Mulder. Michael went right and dunked on him. Then he went right and dunked on him. These are 4 straight plays. Then he crossed over. And he dunked on him. He dunked on him. And I said, son, he just dunked on you 4 times. He said, my hip is bothering me. You better get it replaced. I don't know what to tell you. So, but Brad came back and he said, you know what? I was too tight. I got to get hands up and make sure I'm retreating back because I can't let him run by me. That's what playing against good players does. And instead of it being 12 times a year in games, we may have 35, 36 games, but you're playing 12 to 15 against guys that are really going to be guys in that league that challenge you. The others are not with players as good as you, unless you're in a practice, and every day you're facing someone who's just as good as you. That's how you get better. That's why we are doing this at Kentucky. That's why it's happening. It's that they get better because they compete, and that's what they want. If you don't want that, they don't come here. They go other places.
Kelly, about a month ago, you talked about, if players wanted to get involved in social issues, talk to me and tell me why, all those things. Have any of your players talked to you at all since then, and brought up to you whether or not they would want to get involved in something like that?
Well, we've had different conversations, and for all of you, I'll do this kind of quickly, but I do it every year, and then it became, I try to explain race from my vantage point where I've sat, being with an assistant, and how he was treated and how I was treated, and seeing it firsthand. And I tell them. And I also tell them, because you got a Kentucky uniform on, you're going to be treated differently than someone who doesn't. You better understand that. So I talk to them about it. But then I talk about, if you want to become involved in a cause, thoroughly know what that cause is. If someone asked you to be involved, educate yourself. Thoroughly know. These kids are 17 and 18 and 19. These aren't 30-year-old men that I would say, you got to go with your heart. These kids, I got to give them a plan. Educate. Are you in total agreement with everything that group wants to accomplish or wants done? If you agree, that's the first step. The second step would be, can I make a difference? By me getting involved, am I going to make a difference? And how I'm doing it, am I going to offend so many people it's not going to make a difference? Or is there another way I can get involved? And then the third thing is, what's the downside? Muhammad Ali decided that where I stand on these issues is more important than my career. That's what he did. And people were offended. People hated him. How many years of boxing did he lose? 7 years? 5 years? Prime. He was willing to give that up for what he stood for. At the time, it wasn't the right thing, and all of a sudden, he's an icon who happened to box. He's an icon who happened to box. And so when I talk to the kids, I'm like, you better educate yourself. You don't stand in the front of that line unless you're up there because you know everything that's involved. And then the last thing, what you said, I said, before you do something, please tell me so we can talk through it. I'm going to support you, but you're going to have to explain it all to me. They're 18 and 19. These are not 30-year-old men. But I want them to be socially active. I want them to be engaged. I want to talk, we talk about police, if you're approached. I mean, I bring in people, I do it myself. We talk about relationship with women. And I go through it all. And we talk about it because they're 18 and 19. They're my son. I got my own son in the room now. I'm a father first to my son and them. I'm a teacher, a motivator. That's what I do. And I'm a protector on top of that.
So have any of them come to you?
We have some guys that just sat down and say, Coach, talk me through some of this stuff. But we still, as a group, I've got to sit down and really, how do you feel about all this stuff? And we haven't done that to that point, but we will. I went from recruiting to coming back to the combine to this weekend. I was going to do it last weekend and really feel some stuff out. But I will say this. You want them involved in community. When they leave us, I want them to know how they proceed. If someone's asking them to be involved in their cause, you better make sure it's your cause. You better make sure that you know you can make a difference. And if it's a difference you want to make, is there another way to do the same thing? And what's the downside? What's the repercussions if I do this? To my career, to my family, whatever else.
Cal, how much has Isaiah shot improved?
And you have some of your top targets on campus. One target said that this is when you wanted him to be on campus. why is this such a big recruiting weekend deal?
Well, most of the kids decide when they want to come here. I like it when I have a young man by himself, but they all like to come to this event. We have some guys that have come Thursday, Friday, Saturday, which I'm ecstatic about, because I get to spend some time, because tomorrow we've got a bunch of underclassmen, a couple of them, I'm going to get their families together and say, this is the only time you're really going to speak to me. I don't have time, but I'm happy you're here. And that's, with young people, you just don't have the same time. But you want to have time so that they understand what this is. And I want them to see practice. I want them to see how the team is together. By seeing the madness, it's more like a game. Like you walk in and say, this is what our games are like. Just different people. You know, it's not, I wouldn't say that's 25,000 season ticket holders.
John, how much has Isaiah's shot improved from last season?
Isaiah's shot is really improved. It's really improved. And again, when you're trying to make, not just Isaiah, when you're trying to make somebody the best version of themselves, you have to keep defining that over a period of time, because sometimes it changes. And there have been guys that you have to, being a defensive player, a rebounder, a sprinter, a shot blocker, a guy that dives on the floor, that's who you are. That's how you're going to do this. Michael Kidd, da-da-da-da-da. That kid either buys it and he works like heck to be that guy and tries to improve his other skill stuff. Or he says, that is too hard, let me shoot more. The other guy that you're saying you have to improve your shooting may say, what do you mean? You've got to come in the gym every night after practice and make 500 shots, game shots. Really? How about you just give me the ball more? And I'll just, no, that's not going to be your best version. This is what you have to do. Then it becomes, do they buy it? Are they bought into it? Isaiah's bought into it. And that's why I couldn't be more pleased. He's leading on the court. We're teaching him how to lead off the court, just like we did with Tyler, because, you know, early on, Tyler was great on the court. Off the court, he wasn't as good leading and being around. And now Isaiah's going through that process. Unbelievable on the court. Unbelievable. And shooting the ball better. Really proud of him. Still the same defending, rebounding guard that he was.
What is Blink doing? Did you talk about leading the same goal?
The hardest thing for a basketball player to do is dribble two really hard dribbles. You are flying, and then pull up and shoot a ball from 15, 17 feet. It's the hardest thing in the game. And he can do that easy. It's very easy for him to do. And that's why the best players I've coached make really hard things look easy. Like, you may say, well, that was easy. And you go, oh, well, go try it. It's so easy, go ahead, you can do it. And then you say, wow, he makes this like it's nothing. So there are things that he does now. His game is still like this, and we need it to narrow in, but he knows it. Mind races, his no, and I don't mean to be, I'm not being disrespectful, I'm just thinking like, where you have playing a lot of guards, normally I don't play as many guards. And then you say, well, you did last year. Yeah, I did, but we didn't have the size around that goal that this team has. That team was totally focused on one guy having the ball, and we all played off of him. This team will probably have three guys having the ball, and we'll play off of them. One may have it more, but the other two are going to have it a significant amount of time. So that makes it different. Every team, that's the fun thing about this. I mean, literally every year is a different group, and you have to figure out how you're going to play.
Cal, who's the last guy that you had that was, you felt like you do right now with Sasha? What did you say? Obviously, I knew he was good, but then he gets here and you watch him for a few weeks and you're surprised by even how much you have.
I knew Patrick was good until I started coaching him, and then I thought, wow, he's really good. Brandon in practice was really good, but in the games he was off the chain. When the game started playing, he was ridiculous. Never thought Josh would play. He played great, got drafted, you know. at the end of the day, he worked his way into something special. Maybe a James Young, you know, I knew he would be good, and then we started coaching him, I'm like, oh my. So, but I've had a few.
Cap, in June, you were named to the ad hoc committee on the NCAA selection process, and we know last March you weren't too happy with how things played out. Have you had any conversations? Has the committee met? Have you?
Well, the good news is Mitch is on the committee. Now, he'd have to leave the room when they talk about us, but he's on the committee. And I think he'll do a very good job, and he and I talk about it all the time. I mean, the first thing is being the composite of an RPI. You can't use RPI. It's got to be composite. In other words, there are 4 or 5, 6 different ways of evaluating teams. Do a composite of them. Kind of like, what do they do in the voting stuff, all the polls? They have one poll that's called the, come on, politicians in here, what's the one poll that brings all the polls? Clear choice poll, what is it called? Oh my gosh, is anybody watching the politics this year?
Real clear politics.
Real clear, and do that, so we all know. I think we talked about defining what quality wins are. There was a bunch of things that we proposed that went before them and that they're going to talk about. So I feel good that we coaches, and again, 14 coaches got in a room, and in one day came up with 7 things that we all agreed on, 14-0. I've never seen it in the history of the sport. Never. Because guys go in and they only think about their own program, and you can't get a consensus because they don't think it's going to help their league. That's not what we did. We went in, and it was for everybody, not just for Kentucky or the S. We just, how are you evaluating us? Let us know beforehand, this is how it'll be.
When do you hear back on the 7 proposed ideas?
Well, they agreed to one. I said the top 4 seeds should pick where they're going. The number 1 seed, what region do you want to play in? Okay, here are the 2 sites. What site do you want to play in? All right, you're the number 2 seed. Number 2 1 seed. Where do you want to play? I want to go in the East. Where? You want to play in Philly? Or you want to play in Bangor? Oh, you want to play in Philly? Okay. The number 3 seed. You're going west. Really? Okay. You're playing in Portland or you're going to play in LA. Where do you want to play? And then the 4th seed, you're in the Midwest. I mean, it's great because now there's no, anything you can take off their hands that we choose ourselves, you're not going to see me on TV saying stuff. You're doing what we want. I can't, what am I going to say? Me or the other 100 coaches that were doing the same thing I was saying.
Guys, time for a few more questions.
Coach, parents always want their kids to play a little bit more, but you can kind of tune that out. What do you do now when you go home and live with one of them?
My wife has been to 3 practices since I've been the coach here. And she's been to 2 this year. You know, she understands, and I'm coaching my son. He's a walk-on. He's trying. He can shoot the ball. He knew coming here that you understand this is Kentucky. He wants to be challenged. He wants to see how good he can be. He's in the gym at night with Kenny. Works as hard as anybody, if not harder. Shoots it pretty well. Biggest thing he told me that kind of got me to say, okay, if you want to do, he wants to get into coaching, which I never knew. Just when he told me that, I said, well, then this is a good place to go. You know, if that's what you want to do. So, look, for our children, you want them to build their own self-esteem and their own self-confidence. For your own child. You don't want it to come from somebody else, because if it does, that same person can take it away. You want them to learn the grind. Nothing is given to you. You're going to have to work for it. You want them to understand competition. That's our country. Competition. You want them to learn about teammates, coming together, melding with other people, seeing where you can help. You want them to learn about servant leadership. Even as a young person, be more concerned with everybody else than yourself. If my son is learning that here, And when he leaves me, that's what he's developed. I'm gonna be a proud father. Now, let me say, if I had a son, I would want him to be Brad. That's the truth. He's a great kid. He's done some stupid stuff, though. He's got 2 sisters, Erin and Megan. I was with them the other day. One's 29 and one's 26. And I said to both girls, at what age, 40, 43, 44, are you going to get your own credit cards? At what age?
Give it up.
Now, all these particulars you want him to learn, but does he really know how tough this business is?
Yeah, I was in Charlotte, and a good friend of mine said, do you know how hard it would be to be your son? I've never thought of it in those terms. Look, I don't see myself as maybe some of you do or other people. I grew up in Moon Township. Grandparents came through LSI. I know who I am. I don't see myself as this, whatever they see me as. I don't. But when someone says that to me for your children, and now where they're going with their lives, and Brad wants to have his own name, I hope someday someone said, that is Brad's dad. That would be my hope. Wow. For me. Right now, he's Coach Cal's son. And he understood coming here. It's a tough deal.
2 more, one in the back, and then Tim.
Is Brad a better basketball player than you are?
Yes.
Do you have a reaction to the NLRB decision that declared Northwestern football players to be employees? And what do you think?
When did that happen, Tim?
Within the last few days.
You know, if you give me some time to research it and look at what happened and the result, I will call you and tell you. I have not, I'll be honest, I didn't even know. So tell me again what they did.
They defined the Northwestern football players as employees based on some criteria as what qualifies as an employee.
Let me go through it. The one thing I think in the one case that I think we all need to come together on is that who defines amateurism? You can't have one group that oversees everything and then they define what amateurism is. What is amateur? Is expenses amateurism? Does that make them professional? Doing things where parents can go to the NCAA tournament games, that makes them pros and not eligible to be amateur? Does a kid that can't afford to come to campus when he's going as a 19-year-old, 18-year-old, can we fly him to campus and fly him home at the end of the year? Does that make them professional? I mean, we've had people define what amateurism is, and that's my story and I'm sticking with it. And that's why this stuff is all happening. And now the same in that case, I mean, we're not moving fast enough where things are going. But, Tim, please, you're writing stuff. I really did not read it. I don't have any idea. I don't. So if you let me, give me a day or two, I will call you personally and I'll tell you how I feel about it.
All right, thanks, everyone.